Hi everybody, Chris Titley here and welcome to Scoreboard.
This episode is powered by SwiftX, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard.
Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and as part of the Scoreboard podcast, we are sitting here on Hoops Capital East Centre Court with Guy Molloy. Guy, welcome to Scoreboard.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
What a beautiful Sydney day it is. How's your morning been?
Well, took the jumper off.
Yes,
and
yes.
Enjoyed a walk in the sunshine already. What a great day.
What a great day. Now, Guy, I'm going to get straight into it in terms of this is your 35th or 36th year of coaching. What makes a good coach?
Well, it's a industry that it's about player over performance or player over plan or anything like that. I think it's the connection piece, certainly to try and endure. And personally, I'm a fair introvert, I would say. So just learning how to connect well with people and inspire, motivate, be of some significance to their career has been the thing that I've had to learn, but that's probably made a difference.
Do you reckon your coaching style has changed, or have you always been pretty consistent as a coach?
It's changed so much I couldn't even describe. I think when I began, I was just learning about the game myself, so it was very technical, very tactical. And then over time it just matures and you find out that it's not the game plan or it's not the action that we're working on. It's connecting and getting inside someone's head and hopefully improving their performance.
And in terms of competitiveness, are you a competitive person, and where does winning sit in the realm of coaching?
That's changed as well, I reckon, because when you're trying to make your mark in the game, you need to win to get a little bit of kudos and get ahead and probably get the next coaching job. After a while though, I think coach so many hundreds or thousands of games, it's the competitions with yourself and the competitions with the team to say how close to our potential can we actually get, and so I think that your opposition take on a different role because they're they're part of the process to help you become a better competitor. So you just view it differently.
And do you reckon you've won more than you've lost?
I've learned more than I won and lost. I reckon that's the thing. I mean, the famous Kipling poem about winning and losing both being imposters, I reckon that's the case. But the learnings till the day we're buried.
And you're here with the Flames and you're building into this next season. How do you go about building a team, and what are you looking for in terms of the different roles of the players?
Well, every club's different, but I've probably endured and found a career in this particular niche in Australia because I've been a program builder, or I've sort of had a reputation as a program builder. So about every club that I've been involved with, there's been a couple of exceptions, but most have been clubs on a down and out, financially, roster-wise, haven't won for a long period of time, need a complete reset or a reboot. And for whatever reason, that's the space I've tended to land in. So the Flames, when I took this job on a couple of years ago, they hadn't been in the playoffs for 6 or 7 years, I think, and a lot of off-court difficulties going on and a bit of a broken connection with the local pathway in some respects. So to get all those other forces around the program right and establishing standards to get it going in the right direction, you got to concentrate on that first before the winning can really take place.
I'm curious to know about those standards that you talk about. Is there some principles that you adhere to your players on and off the court, or some values that you try and instill? And then second to that question, how long does that take to kind of get through?
Yeah, well, not every player is for every coach and vice versa, so it's about finding the right characteristics that are a good working model to begin with. And then I think the second thing is training intensity, because all the great programs and coaches that I've studied, from Alex Ferguson or at Man U, or Craig Bellamy at Melbourne Storm, Ivan Cleary, Penrith Panthers, they establish a great training intensity and they learn to work very hard. And so often when you take over a program that's been in the doldrums, it can be that there aren't great standards around the work ethic. So you have to pick that up. And then you want to get the right people on the bus that go with that, and I think that from there the cohesion and the culture starts to emerge.
When you've got the skill levels of some of these players, which is extraordinary, and then you've got the team effort and their roles within the team, how do you think about as a coach to mould those players into those roles? Whether they're a bench player, they've got 5 minutes, but that's their role, versus someone that is a bench player that goes, why am I not starting?
Happens in every part of every interaction, because it's an immediate connection that's got to be formed, because it's not so much the skill, say, you bring to the table and I bring to the table, because we might not be able to utilise all those things or utilise them in the correct way. What's most important, in my opinion, is the interaction of the skill that you and I can bring together. So that might mean that we're not using all of what you can bring, but these parts are really important, and some parts that I bring are really important, but together the whole is way greater than the sum of the parts. And so that's the magic point that you're after, and there can be a lot of convincing and education and storytelling about how you try and bring that together, but that's ultimately what you want to get.
Has some of the most successful teams that you've coached not won the championship, etc., and what was, when you look at the winning teams that you've been a part of, what was the slight difference?
That's a hard factor to always put your finger on, because we live in a results-driven industry, and so if you don't win, then people judge, well, it's a failure to some extent or other. It's often not the case, right? Because it's a very narrow definition of winning, and some of the teams that I've coached that have done a great job to come together and played as close to their potential as they can. I felt great about those teams, and I've had them in the past, and there's no trophy to put beside their name, but you can know that internally, and it doesn't lessen the feeling or the satisfaction that you get out of coaching that group.
And when you look at players that you may not have known and they come to training, what do you look for in a player that's coachable and that's part of a team to build a bit of a culture and a legacy?
It's an individual thing, because you're going to have much different personalities. So some walk through the door and they're an alpha, or they're an extrovert and they want to draw attention. Others can be very quiet achievers and set standards by their work ethic, not so much by what they talk about. So most experiences with those types are pretty good. So I reckon that it's a good blend.
Let's talk about you for a second, your relationship with basketball. How did it begin, and your role into coaching?
Well, I grew up in a small country town, so no one really heard much about basketball at all, and I had we played some social basketball, and then we had a coach moved to town from Sydney and started to actually teach and coach and instruct the game, and made a huge impact on me, and I sort of grew in love with the sport, because the options back then, if you're a country New South Wales boy, it was rugby league or cricket, and that's all you did, and you did a bit of swimming or something as well, but they were your only options. And so to have basketball introduced back in the early 80s was just a great period, very fond memories of that time in my life, and the life path that it set me on. And I think that the first boom that we really experienced in Australian basketball was probably around that time. And so then when I left home and got to move to uni in bigger places where basketball was a bigger thing, it was just unbelievable to fall into a situation where so many other people were passionate about the sport.
Yeah, did you try cricket or rugby league as a kid?
Yeah, look, I was a pretty good cricket player, made some state schoolboy carnivals and that sort of thing, and rugby league, I was a pretty skinny kid and got busted up a fair bit, so I had to leave that one. Had to leave that one pretty early, but look, I still love the sport and follow it to this day, but basketball became my number one.
Yeah, and so as a player, and then what about your playing career per se? How did that go as a basketballer?
Oh yeah, look, I was just, I was a competent player. That was kind of about it. And I think that back then the Seaball League hadn't been going too long, and so my aspiration was to make the team and play in Canberra for the Seaball team. And as things turned out, they asked me to coach the team. So there was American coach there that had a really big influence on me becoming a coach, and he sort of convinced me to go, well, look, even if you make the team, you're only good enough. You'll sit at the end of the bench for the Siebel team. That's as good a player as you're going to be. But I think that you've got some ability to have a better career coaching, and fortunately I wasn't too stubborn to listen to him at the time.
And what was it about coaching? You're like, this is interesting. There's a bit of strategy here. This is a 19-year-old kid going, oh, yeah.
Well, I always had a fairly analytical mind about whatever sport that I watched. So, I can remember being a young kid and the rugby league had come on, and my favourite team, I'd sit there with a pad and pen. And
who was it, by the way, back then?
I was Manly back then.
Oh, yep.
Right, a long time ago. But I'd sit down and I'd do a tackle count when I was a kid, and just, well, who's that?
Yep.
Yeah, which was, so I probably had that analytical mind for how, or the process by which sport sort of work, particularly team sports, and so I carried that forward. But when I was playing, the club had a rule that if you played in the senior team, this was in Canberra, if you played them, they wanted us to coach a junior team. So I coached the under 14 boys, and that was sort of the start, and loved doing that, and off we go.
And do you still count the tackle count watching rugby league? And as a basketball coach, do you like do the steals and do all the stats that, not the points, right?
No, it's probably a chore of the whole thing now.
The K's run in the AFL, I see that now. The 14.3.
Yeah, no, the analytics these days are, the bombardment that you get with stats and analytics and video. That's probably the whole part of it I least enjoy these days. But part of the job. So
do you get the reports and you're like, oh, how do I analyse this?
Yeah, you do get the reports, and the amount of information is stupendous. It's enormous. So you got to try and winnow that down and get it to a point where you can understand what happened, but then put it into digestible bite forms for the team to do something with.
At some points you just go, yeah, too much.
Yeah, it often happens, I reckon.
Yep.
That's probably a bit of old school nature now.
Yep.
In my coaching, whereas I see with the younger generation, they're very much data driven, video driven.
Do you watch the games after?
Our games, definitely.
Yeah, your games. Yeah, not other games, but yeah.
So I mean, look, I'm like all coaches, I'm pretty emotional after games, winning or losing, and it still takes me a bit of time to calm down and settle down and let the emotions wash through. So the first 24 hours, particularly if it's a pretty annoying loss or significant loss, but I'm pretty good after 24 hours. I usually bounce back pretty well, but part of the rebooting time is to actually get back in front of the video, because some things that you think were horrible and bad and
so in that 24 hours or after the 24 hours?
In the 24 hours.
Interesting.
I
so you go through the pain?
Yeah, I got to go through it that way, because it's
and the players as well, or just you?
Just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's cathartic in a way. Because as I said, you're never as bad as what you think you are. You're never as good as what you think you are, and so it's a bit of objectivity.
I've heard you describe the game as is it implicitly simple or something along those lines, or simple?
Well, look, simplicity is a big part of what I believe coaching, and I think that I came to that point after having lots of my players tell me that when our game plans were simple, we played better. So it was a bit of reverse engineering, and you got the tendency to complicate is probably there with your first steps in the game. And it's one thing that I mentor a lot of young coaches, and interestingly, your state coach for your under 16 or under 18 team can often have playbooks that are more complicated than I roll out for senior basketball. So usually the process I go through with them is you can cut that in half probably and do a lot better.
Do you stay in your own lane when you're coaching in terms of your own techniques, etc., or do you peer over the corner to see what the younger generation are doing and thinking, and different forms of training sessions, etc.?
Keeping up with trends in the game is pretty important to do. The sport of basketball's changed so much. How we communicate with athletes has changed so much. So if you're unaware of trends, you're going to get buried, and the burnout rate or the firing rate of coaches, it's huge, right? So if you don't keep an eye on what's coming or how things are done, that it'll probably come back to bite you in the bum at some point. Having said that, too much is not a good thing. So you don't want to have too many inputs, because you need to have your own secret sauce and your own identity with how you go about things. And so if you're constantly in doubt because something new is coming, and how do I incorporate that? So there's an art to it.
And some of the tougher decisions with potentially friends that you have to drop, or the relationship between coach and player. Can you talk about that, the greyness of it all? Are you best mates, but you're not best mates? But then how does that all work?
Well, it's leadership. And I do this professionally, so it's the players want a coach and a leader. They don't want a best friend. That's not it, despite how close overtime relationships can be and get. And I don't need any more 22-year-old friends or anything like that, so that's not important to me, right? But so keeping in your lane, that's an important thing. So that's what the players need, and that's what the club needs, and that's what I'm here to do. So I think that a lot of the deeper and ongoing relationships actually come after they leave you, because then you take all the emotion and pressure away from it. You can reflect on great times and things that you've been through and whatever else, and I think that's when you know that it's been good.
And isn't it good to see prosperity in terms of some of the coaches, the players that you've coached, to go on and do bigger and better things and keeping in touch?
Oh yeah, a couple of them had birthdays yesterday and today and stuff, so it's just been great to get in contact with them and just watch what they're doing with their lives and connecting. One's over in the WNBL and at the moment, that kind of thing. So that's all really special to see what they do. But it's not necessarily sport. It's getting their own family or creating their own life outside of the sport. And that's great to see. So when you get the second generation of them and whatever, it's pretty special.
We talked about the early 80s being a boom in basketball, and we're here in 2025 and there's a boom in basketball again, and there's a shortage of courts and whatnot. But let's go back to the early 80s. There's a little thing called the WNBL that was created and formed, the oldest standing league in Australia. Same age as me, by the way. I'm an 81 baby. I think it's 81, pretty sure, 80-81 or 81-82, I can't remember the thing. But we're sitting here now under new ownership, a new exciting ownership group, a change of logo, a new CEO, a couple of team name changes, but leading into the season, how excited are you for the WNBL, something that you've been in for so long now, but now we're into a new, fresh start?
Been waiting for this moment for a long time, because you can only go so far in a federation-controlled model. It was the same in the NBL, and that was my last involvement coaching in the NBL was when the National Federation was still in charge of it, and there's just a ceiling to that, because it's, in my opinion, it's not the brief of the National Federation to run leagues. I just don't think it's their strong point, their skill set. They've got so many other things that they've got to do for the governance of the sport and to create pathways, and that just drags their attention in lots of different ways. So to now have the league under private ownership, and it's great that I know the private ownership pretty well, and they're just wonderful people. And I understand their vision for where they want to take the league, so truly an exciting time.
Yep, and in terms of the style of basketball from when you coached in terms of the WNBL early on to where you are now, is it going to be a bit more exciting, do you think, or is it going to be more entertainment in the game day? What's some secrets you think that might come through this year?
Well, the sport's changed, as I said, anyway, and that's happening on the women's side as well. So the pace of the games is increasing, the athleticism is increasing, the depth of the teams, all those sorts of things. So I would expect that that's going to continue. And
the depth and liquidity you just touched on then, or the talent pool, we've got a number of athletes that go over to the college system, they've come back, we've got the WNBA that's thriving, we've got a pathways program here, you've got development, girls can play in rep teams at the age of 12 or 15, etc. Going back a little bit, that wasn't the case. Can you sort of capture where we are now in women's basketball, but then also think where it can go?
Well, the small part I've played in it, you've got to feel proud for all those that have come before, because we've climbed on the shoulders of giants in many respects. So unlike the AFLW or the NRLW, which have got such a leg up from the men's code. Instant salaries, instant resourcing, instant television, instant crowds, that kind of thing. The WNBL's had to work for all of that, and so very little has been handed to it. And because I understand the club space very well, the clubs have had to do so much, and they've over the years copped a fair bit of criticism about what they do well, what they don't do well. But you get no handouts, you get no TV money, you get no concessions, you get no merchandise, you get none of those things. So you've got to go out, find your sponsorship, sell your membership, and then try and put a good product on. They just do an amazing job. So they're pretty tough and robust people that have come before. So I've been lucky to have a long involvement with that, and but wonderful to see that hopefully lessons learned and now some leverage and momentum.
And basketball as a sport generally, probably the last 10 years or so at a junior grassroots level has exploded for various reasons compared to other sports maybe, but also the fact that it is engaging, that it's fast paced, and there's a shortage of courts. I think Matt Denholm was saying there's a shortage of courts in Sydney and Victoria. What's your view on the popularity of basketball at a grassroots level now in Australia and then moving forward?
I've seen it at other countries as well. So the involvement I've had, coaching in New Zealand, it's been the same thing. The groundswell starts in primary schools and then there's a push for facilities because pressure goes to councils and state governments, and facilities start to happen. Then more competitions happen, so basketball's always putting pressure now on governance to come up with more. And so I think that it's popular for parents because games are short. You're not there all day. It's still relatively inexpensive. I mean, we've got a bit of inflation going on everywhere, but it's not bad that way. And I think the other thing though is it's such a global sport, right? Because you can go from your own backyard if you're good enough to the Olympics, and there are very few team sports, particularly the ones that are really commonplace to us as Aussies. I mean, cricket or AFL or netball or stuff like that, that's not an Olympic sport, right? Where basketball, you can go from the very beginning to the very top, and it's just amazing that way.
Yeah, and also I got described the other day, basketball is a game where you can't, if you're playing, you're on the court, you can't hide, and you can't be a goalkeeper in soccer where it's out the other side of the field, or maybe in AFL if your team's winning by 40 points, you're the defender and you're going to go, not much going on here. And cricket, the same thing. If you're a fielder or you get taken off as a bowler, basketball, you're on. Right?
Yeah, it's fun for kids. That's the thing. It's fun. You're going to get touches of the ball, and so it's sort of, well, the more I practice and the more I touch the ball, and the better I get. I make a few more shots, and I think it just rolls that way.
And I think the access, from when I was growing up following the NBA, very difficult to follow. Maybe a little bit of Jordan stuff, and that get filtered through, and you get the wide world of sports on a Saturday afternoon, and you get the 10 minutes or the top 10 players of the week, which you used to tape on your VHS. Now you've got democratisation of information, you've got the KO minis, you've got kids watching it. How important do you think that is, or has been, in terms of the growth of basketball as a sport?
Oh, I can remember that to see an NBA game when I started playing, you actually had to send a letter to New South Wales Basketball Association because they had some games that they'd recorded or somehow got, and they would put it in a post pack and send it to you, and you'd sit at home with your mates because you had it for a week.
Get everyone together.
Watch an NBA game and then put it back in the post and send it back to Sydney, and that was the only way that we got to watch NBA games. But now it's a global thing.
Yep.
Anytime you can click on male, female, junior, senior, in national teams, club teams, you can watch it all.
Absolutely. And in terms of your coaching, the group that you're in, all the other coaches, is there some sort of secret WhatsApp group that you coaches get together and share tips, or you're all in your own kind of different ways of things? Are you friends outside?
Yeah, some of the best memories I've got in the sport are just the camaraderie between coaching staffs, and it's a different lifestyle and a different way of life, and I think that people that have been through shared experiences, you can, particularly if you're not in direct competition with them, they just become good friends over time.
And when it comes to high performance, you've got the athletes on the court, but you've got the coach. The coach has to look after himself or herself. Yeah. What do you do to look after yourself and stay at the high performance in terms of your brain and physical, etc.?
Totally agree. The coach is a high performer these days. You need to be. So, advancing years, I work harder at my conditioning and fitness, diet. I work harder at it now than what I did when I was 40. So, mentally, physically, I've got to be in a good place. So I work really hard.
Do you use the same trainers as the players, etc.?
I tend to do my own thing a little bit because I don't like to jump in their space because, I want them doing what they've got to do. So often hit the gym before others arrive, or if I can't do that, I'll hit it afterwards. And I think walking's a really good activity just to clear your mind at the best of times. So I'm pretty avid, consistent walker as well, but probably hitting the gym is the big thing I enjoy.
I also ask some of these athletes about the best time that they love to play at, and also the timings of and what they do before, and some really hate a late night game, or some really love an afternoon game. What about you? What about the coach? What do you love the most, or just any time?
I most prefer an afternoon game because the wait around all day for a 7:30, 8 o'clock tip-off just drives me crazy.
And the food
I think
as
about
well,
the game.
because you do have dinner before a 7:30?
No, I can't. So I'll probably eat, if it's a 7:30, 8 o'clock game, I might eat a lunch and then a light snack in the early afternoon, and then I can't eat. So your nerves start kicking in a little bit. So I definitely don't like the late.
And is that also because you're a bit wired after the game and it's a little bit hard to get back to sleep?
Yeah, it does take its toll, I reckon, just sort of puts you
That's
behind
interesting.
that.
I've heard this a lot. So I'm wondering whether the league's out there listening about times of changes of high performers, because some people get, like, after an 8 o'clock, you finish 10:30, then you do this and you do this, then you get home, it's 12 o'clock, then you watch a little bit of replay and you're like, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh, I don't like that. So the Arvo game.
Yeah,
you love an Arvo
and
game.
I'm a bad sleeper anyway, so I'm not good with that. I've got
Too much coffee?
No, not really, but I enjoy my morning coffee, but mine's active, and that's why I've got to, staying fit and just finding some ways to unwind and relax are important, otherwise I won't sleep at all.
I was going to say, unwind. Do you ever unwind from basketball? Is there a switch off period? Do you take a block and do you say, like, I'm out for a month, don't contact me, don't talk to me about basketball? Or are you like, no, this is part of life, I'll accept it?
I learned from a really good sports psych, because again, coaches being performers, and I recommend that coaches work with sports psychs. And one of the habits that I reckon we've lost for a lot of people is actually reading a book. And this sports psych, she convinced me to go back to slow form reading and with a physical book, and not necessarily non-fiction where you leadership ideas or basketball ideas, but to actually just get a good page turner or a fiction book, because one of our big issues around how things have changed and one of the downsides of social media is I certainly see the impact on attention span, and that happens to me. So when I get sped right up, there's too much video, there's too much thinking
Screens,
about what's
maybe?
Yeah, too many screens, all that sort of stuff, and so walking, exercise, reading a book, those sorts of things are a great way to just calm back down.
When you are walking, do you listen to music or do you just listen to the sounds around? Because my headphones were dead the other day. I went for a walk without them and I was like, this is nice. I haven't heard a dog barking for a while.
Yeah, I'm the same. A lot of the time I just enjoy nothing, which is good. Sometimes I'll have some music on or a podcast if it's something interesting. If I need a complete switch off, but a lot of the time, yeah, just nothing.
And so nothing to do with basketball. Do you sometimes have enough of it? Like, I just can't, it's too much.
I'm insatiably curious about the sport. So I've been coaching a long, long time. The longer I do it, the more I know I don't know, which has probably served me well in terms of keeping enough ego out of it and humility in it, because you have to continue to learn. So that's been a good thing. So insatiably curious and always passionate about it, which is another good thing to possess. But yeah, sometimes I need to shut down for today and I'll be better tomorrow for it.
Yep, okay. And then spending time away from anything to do with basketball, the beach or travelling, always have the phone with you, or is it like, no, it's off today?
I actually enjoy long drives, so if I had the choice of flying Melbourne, Sydney or driving, I'd drive it. That's a great switch off for me. Love the beach as well. So those opportunities to have a little bit of solitude, very
I'm just going to talk about the Melbourne-Sydney thing for a bit. You're in Sydney now. Is that
Yep.
your permanent home now that you're the Flames coach, or do you sort of commute?
I'm loving Sydney. I'm up here 9 months of the year now. And probably early experiences I had with it when I was much younger weren't great, but just loving the city. And family's in Melbourne, wife's from Melbourne, so sort of always considered myself to be a Melbourne person, but I think I'm in a bit of both now.
I was going to say, I might get you into some hot water here, but I'm going to ask this question about Melbourne versus Sydney, pros and cons.
The traffic, Sydney, is horrendous.
So that's a down. That's a thumbs
that's
down.
A con. That's
So you started with a con, not a pro.
That's any time of the day.
Yeah, a little bit of beeping, bit of aggressive beeping, or just
no, I'm
shoving
pretty sedate.
in.
I'm okay. So, but yeah, just the time to get anywhere. You talked on it. Basketball facilities are just non-existent in Sydney compared to Melbourne, so we tend to, we've got a training base and whatever else, but I get around and watch a lot of the pathway basketball and NBL 1 and like there are a lot of old venues around and given the growth of basketball, would love to see a lot of new venues around Sydney with that.
Well, we're here one now, aren't we? Hoops Capital East.
Yeah,
How good is
Hoops
this?
Capital East, beautiful venue, but you see only one court. Whereas if this was Melbourne and this is a pro Melbourne, it would probably be 12 courts. So
there you go, improvement. There you go, Matthew and the crew at Hoops. Come on,
Matthew.
Actually, there's another facility that Graham's out there today. Actually, so there's Hoops Capital West, I think it is.
Right.
So they're growing slowly. It's good.
Yeah, but look, they're probably my only complaints about Sydney.
You've diverted the question, Guy. Come on, Sydney, like coffee. What about the coffee?
Still Melbourne, definitely.
Food?
Still Melbourne.
Weather?
Sydney. Yep.
Beaches?
No real contest there, right?
People?
Very different cultures, I reckon.
You get up early, late, same thing on that front?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar with that.
Busy and stressful people?
No, I reckon that, this will sound crazy, but the sporting culture in Melbourne's crazy, right? With all 8 pro AFL clubs, NRL, rugby, NBL, WNBL, netball, soccer. I mean, it is so full on as a sporting, I think it is the sporting capital of Australia. I think Sydney's a bit more relaxed.
What about Brizzy?
Don't know much about Brizzy.
Probably because they don't have a WNBL team, do they? Well, they should probably
haven't had for a long time.
23 years, I believe.
Right.
So
you're about right.
Maybe watch this space. Maybe. Going to talk about your other sports that you follow and coaches from other sports. Do you take a bit from them? You mentioned some of the idols, not idols, but sort of great coaches.
Yep.
In terms of watching sport, do you watch other sports now and take a little bit about what potentially they're doing in terms of coaches and language and behaviour and body language?
For enjoyment, I watch a ton more NRL than I do basketball. So grew up with it.
With Manly as your team?
Initially. Now I'm a very devout Melbourne Storm fan, so I have been for quite a period of time. Have been fortunate to go into their inner sanctum on a couple of occasions and see how they operate, and they're brilliant. NRL's something I watch very regularly.
What do you reckon the Storm have done right or doing right to be such a tremendous club over a continuous period of time?
I'm in awe of how consistently they just win. It's difficult to do.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a X factor there with how Craig Bellamy and his staff go about things that. You can go in there and they'll tell you that they recruit the people that will fit to the Storm, and they have very high standards, and they keep it simple and they're consistent to their standards. So nothing that you want to write a book about, because a lot of teams will tell you the same thing, but they obviously can just walk the walk with that better than most.
Is it like the Melbourne Storm way, potentially, if that's a thing,
Yep.
and the All Blacks, etc., there's these books on it, Legacy, etc., but if the Sydney Flames way, what's the Sydney Flames way?
Well, the lessons I've learned from them is that the people we want to recruit to the program, that's the first thing. So I like high work rate, blue collar, selfless type players, and so I'm really excited about the team we've got coming in, because I think that's all those factors are really well represented, and the beauty of a team sport again is that interaction of skills. So I'm looking for people that are great teammates and can take what we want to do out there and implement it with the team being first, and so that's our identity.
As a coach, when you're playing your opposition and you see someone of talent, you're like, actually that person would be good on our roster. Do you kind of do that or not?
To some extent. One of the ways I believe that you create a successful WNBL club is that you're internally grown and developed. You want to be known as a player development club. That's at the Melbourne Boomers. That's how we generated that club, and so that was done in a particular way, and we didn't necessarily go after a pure star factor with players. Although by the time I left, when we won the championship in 22, we had some great players there, but they'd been with us for a long period of time, and so they knew the club very well, and they knew what I wanted very well, and we connected great. So that was the lessons learned from that are here. So the pathway and the young players from this area that I'm trying to bring into the club and ingrain in the Flames way and the Flames style of basketball, as much as anything else, that's what we're setting up at the moment. So there's some outside recruiting because we need to have the talent level to compete, but they're the right kind of people that we want, and they play the way that I want us to play. But then aside, there's this parallel track of the constant internal development going on.
And then on the recruiting side of things, how much of a role do you play versus the CEO, versus the ownership group and Andrew Bogut and those people that make suggestions, etc.? Where do you fit in it all?
I like to take the point of view from a lot of those people, because as you just mentioned some names, so Luke Longley or Jenny Screen are some people around the club, in addition to Chris Pongrass and so Renee Garlop, my assistant coach. Jenny, Renee, Luke have obviously been players at the pinnacle of the sport, so I'll ask them what they see in a player, which might be a basketball question, but a lot of the time is, well, would you play with them? Is that someone
like
you
a channel
see
check?
Yeah, is that someone you see as a teammate? And that's usually the thing for me, the factor for me, whether we want them here.
Yeah, right. And it's all about, again, juggling maybe the too many power forwards or a guard, etc., and the missing pieces of the puzzle. You spend a lot of time in the off-season recruiting. You've named a few on your roster, etc. How much more is there to go?
Well, our roster's complete now for the season ahead, and look, to me, the winning's in the picking, and so, but there's not a quick fix. As I said, that where I started with the club, there were lots of standards and holes and operational issues to sort out and whatever else, and so the first 2 years that I've had here, and we got to the playoffs last year, but with a highly gutted, injured team. I mean, those players did great, but it's still an evolution point, and I think that as each year goes by, we get a better sense of who's coming through and who we want.
Are you a goal setter?
Yeah, I'm much more of a systems person.
So the systems this year coming into the season, if we get the systems right, let things be, as opposed to like, we're going to make the semi again.
Much more of a process and systems person, and generally I was having a chat with a coaching friend the other day about this same stuff, where because winning, losing is a very emotional thing, and so you can preach that you believe in your process and you believe in your systems. If you don't get the result you want, do you still believe in your systems and your processes? And I think that's what you want to get yourself to that point.
Are you there?
Oh, pretty much.
Yeah, but you doubted yourself along the way, going,
oh yeah, that's for
my
for
systems
sure.
are not working.
Yeah, no,
Change
for
the
sure.
system.
For sure. I mean, that's the sport. You're always trying to figure it out. But you got to find what you like, and what you can be good at doing. But then you got to have the stubbornness to stick at it. So that's why coaching's an art, because you have to have some flexibility as well. Because if you're getting evidence of what you're doing is not working, well, it's a decision to say it will work in time. We just got to get better at the execution of it, or maybe we've got to get the right people in, or no, we need to pivot away and change this a little bit. Again, that's why I think it's an art and much more than a science.
And keeping it simple when it comes to defence or offence, what's your views on both?
Well, it needs to be, because if you walk a mile in the shoes of the player, where there are so many things that they're trying to deal with, then you soon find out that the 8th, 9th, 10th message or instruction's got no bearing. It just doesn't matter, because in the moment, what's true is going to be where you are in the court, the basketball, where your teammates are, where the opposition are, and boom, the play happens.
The variables. You got too many variables. Yep.
Right. So it's my job is to put a really good framework around that can make sense for all the players that you've got there, so that they can succeed in the moment. And by necessity, I think that simplicity wins.
How do you train simplicity and decision making?
Decision making's been one of those things that any coach now of any high level sport will talk to you about, because how do we encourage that? One of the changes in training that I've seen over my journey is that we've gone from a very drills based, technical based approach to coaching to now more modern methodologies, constraints-led approaches, games-based approaches, to force more decisions per minute on people than perhaps what we used to. So that's been one of the big changes.
Guy, I asked my podcast guests about their scoreboard moment, which is a moment in your life which is very vivid. It's an image or a picture, and you go, I remember that. That was pretty clear. And from that moment, life changed. I'm curious to know what your scoreboard moment is, Guy Molloy.
The most emotional moment that I can remember, and it's happened a couple of times, it happens to all coaches, is being fired. And my first foray into head coaching in the NBL, and when that occurred, it was pretty tough, being a young coach. And the club was Cairns at the Taipans, and I was the second coach in the club's history. In their inaugural year, they only won 2 games, and they fired the first coach and they brought me in. And so this was my opportunity, and over 4 years we built the club up pretty successfully on a really low budget. And at the end of 4 years, we made the playoffs for the first time in the club's history and won 17 games, which is a long way from 2 games to 17 games. And that was hard work. I won't lie, it was really hard work. We had a lot of players that were getting towards the end of their careers in their mid to late 30s, and so the roster had to be overhauled. And in the process of bringing a lot of youth into the group, we fell out of the playoffs, and I was summarily fired when that happened. So that was, that was a really tough time emotionally, because you always sort of think it's not going to happen to you, it happens to other coaches, and look at the body of work we've done and how far the club's come. So, surely you're going to grow with me, and we'll find ways to bounce back. But there's a lot of politics that happen and a lot of different things, and it took a long time to recover mentally and emotionally, and figure out if this was something that I wanted to persevere and keep doing.
I was going to say, at the time then, was there just let it all go, just it's too hard, don't coach, just go and do another skill?
Definitely. Yeah, I thought, well, how can you... It comes because you pour your heart and soul into something, and if you just do that, and life was really was pretty tough for my wife and I around that period of time, because we had our kids then, and so in Cairns is a long way from our families, so credit to my wife, she was the rock of the family, keeping it together, because looking after 2 kids when your husband's away travelling on Christmas Day for an NBL game on Boxing Day and that kind of thing. It was just tough for our life right then, so I'm trying to get my career going and all that sort of stuff. And it just, when it finished and you go, well, how can you put so much of yourself into something and then it's taken away from you? Do I really want this or not? But I had some good advice and mentorship around that time and eventually stuck with it.
With your stubbornness and resilience, I suppose, as a coach, as a professional coach, you have bounced around the cities, and at a whim of a phone call, you might get an offer and you've come here to Sydney, but your family stayed in Melbourne. How have you been in terms of the geographic movement of family life and your own life about going to various different cities around Australia and New Zealand? Lindsay
Gay's always told me to continue to work at your craft, no matter what. And just be ready because the opportunity, as you say, can come at any time. And Lindsay was a big factor in my coaching life. And when that point happened, he reached out. We had a lot of time together, and he was one that sort of said, "Look, this is actually an opportunity. While you're sort of sitting here and waiting for the next thing to come along, you can actually find ways to improve and analyse your mistakes and all that sort of stuff." So I think that advice to say keep working your craft, that's what really helped me to move.
And when it comes to sport, there's so many moments over the course of your career that you have seen and coached and witnessed and been part of, but I'm curious to know what your favourite all-time sporting moment is, which is a huge question that doesn't involve yourself.
That's a huge one.
Yes.
Being so involved with team sport, I mean, there's been tons of moments that basketball or a footy or something, you see a team win, you think that's great. But I would say the single most inspiring, spine-tingling, chilling thing that I can remember ever watching was when Kieran Perkins won the 1500 metres at Atlanta.
Yeah, right.
Which was
what a moment. I was 15 then. I remember the whole nation stopped and watching this race, just cheering the bloke on.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was just
Doesn't the Olympics bring out these moments, though?
Yeah, it does, really does. I mean, there's other great ones, Kathy Freeman and so many others that where you can sort of go, well, that's just unbelievable. But for whatever reason, that one, just watching that moment with
it's a great moment, but no Melbourne Storm moments, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it's great to watch them win. I went to the grand final last year. Unfortunately, they lost to the Panthers. So
that was a good game. Like the defensive, both teams, and the defence was
incredible.
Incredible.
Great clubs
and probably maybe again this year, the way that Penrith are starting to 9 in a row.
Yeah, they're how they're doing that too.
This podcast won't age well, but what's your tip?
Oh look, I've got to stick with the Storm.
Yeah, this is the bounce back year from last year.
I think so. After losing the grand final, I think they can go one better. But there's some stiff opposition around. The Raiders are pretty good. Panthers.
Oh yeah, they're top of the table at the moment. By the way, we'll listen to this in the future. Now, a couple of final questions to finish. Some advice for individuals, young players that probably, let's call them 15, that want to be a professional athlete and play basketball at the highest level. What's some advice you can give them?
Well, the sport's got to be fun to begin with, and all junior coaches need to have fun as part of their philosophy of why they're coaching and an outcome. You want all the players to come back to the next training session. You want them to come back for the next season. So if you're a young player, just enjoy the sport, love playing the game, fall in love with it, have your dreams, all that kind of thing, but just enjoy it, because a lot of serious stuff can come later. And the other thing, if you can find ways to do the basics well, it's always going to serve you. And this is something that there's more coaching resources out there than there ever used to be. So you can find things out, and so become a good shooter, become a good ball handler, work at that, and just be consistent with it. I think consistency is one of the most underrated things that we have in sport. It's something to just
it's hard
get
to
out
train
there.
though, you think?
Well, it's the same as hitting the gym. Not every workout's your best workout, but I don't feel great today, but I know I feel better for spending the 45 minutes in there and doing it. And I think it's the same for a young player, and just not every workout, not every game is going to be your best one, but just chip away at it. Yeah,
someone told me the other day, have you ever felt bad after a cold shower, or have you ever felt bad after a workout?
Right,
and the answer is no.
No, never.
So there's the motivation to say, you're going, oh, wow, that was good. And you get the endorphins going. Oh, gee, feeling good. But the thought of actually doing it is like, nah, it's cold out there. I can't be bothered
So
doing
consistency is underrated, I think, for that. It doesn't, in fact, don't wait for the motivation. That's fair enough to say. If you can learn to operate independently of the motivation and get out and just enjoy being out on the court and doing
It's
that.
a big mindset shift. If you get it right, though, it's consistency. Now, a very important question is your bucket list sporting event, and we have a sponsor at Scoreboard, which is great. SwiftX out of Brisbane, Australia's most trusted crypto platform. Over 1.1 million users here in Australia and New Zealand, and their new television campaign is "Where Can Crypto Take You?" So as part of their sponsorship, we've got the bucket list segment. Which sporting event that you'd love to attend to that you haven't attended thus far?
Well, thank you, crypto. Can I name two?
You can name two, and you can talk about crypto if you want as well, you know.
Oh, I don't know much about them, but glad they're sponsoring
Yes.
you. And one I might be able to tick off. I'm hoping next year if plans come to fruition. But the Final Four, March Madness.
March Madness. This is the first time we've had that, so well
Is that
done.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Warren Buffett thing about picking the whole thing never happens. He already gives $1 million to people that can pick the entire bracket
whole
all the way
bracket?
through.
Right.
But then he gave it this year because I think he's getting a bit older.
Okay.
But they could have a few losses. But no one's ever picked the bracket from
Is that
start to
right?
finish, ever. 64 teams bracket. There's always a blowout.
Yeah, right. Now there's the first four as well, so there's 68 or something.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. So you'd love to get to March Madness, yeah?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So I'm hoping that the opportunity comes through. And the other thing, and I'm not exactly sure, but I just probably because I'm not a huge fan of football, as in soccer per se, but to see a EPL game at Wembley would just be, I think that would be that league and that stadium for some reason that just I think
Just
that
the
would
iconic
be,
match of that. Yeah, I've done a lot of EPL games, not at Wembley. I've done a concert at Wembley, U2 concert at Wembley, which is equally as monumental. But the EPL is something different. Yeah, also the English, they don't call it the EPL there, actually. Australian loves the acronym, but it's the Premier League. You know, the Premier League
right,
is next level in terms of just enthusiation.
Great if it's the Manchester thing or it's Liverpool or Arsenal or something.
Oh, yeah, one
of the big clubs would be great, but I'd love to just hit that
maybe
stadium.
crypto could take you to the Premier League.
Come on.
That's right. Last question. Community sport's very important and grassroots sport's very important, but then there's parents, and you're a parent and I'm a parent. What's some advice to parents when their kids are playing community sport?
Take the kids there and just tell them you're proud of them, and the car ride home is one of the most important things. So it's, did you have fun? I am proud of you.
I love watching you play, as Simon Black said.
Absolutely.
As well. Yep, and Scott Roth said the first 15 minutes, very important in terms of the car ride home.
Right, yep.
In terms of some evidence-based, I suppose, in terms of not commenting or not saying.
Silence is a good thing, or deflect it, or again, just simple, hey, I just love coming to watch.
Guy Molloy, thank you so much for coming on Scoreboard, the podcast today, and in a centre court here at Hoops Capital East. Very much enjoyed the chat. Congratulations on your career. It's a very long career, but you're enjoying every moment. I can see the energy in your face coming into the new ownership group of the WNBL, but also this WNBL season. Look forward to following your progress and supporting where I can.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Chris.